Hey everybody, welcome to Now It's Dark. I'm Jim. I finally watched Excision. This is a 2012 film. I don't know why I didn't see this. I definitely was watching horror in 2012. And I think it's just because I get really nervous about watching horror comedy dramas. And this is an exception because it was so good. This is where comedy and horror works well for me when it's really uh, dark comedy. Um, I think the last movie that I finally watched was I don't know, but that was also a horror comedy, and it didn't work so well for me. I'm sure I hopefully flashed that up on the screen, whatever it was. It was so bad that I can't. It was Society. I remembered. So this movie is a disturbed, delusional high school student with aspirations of a career in medicine goes to extremes to earn the approval of her controlling mother. The controlling mother? Oh, wait till you hear this if you don't already know. It's Tracy Lords. Yeah, I know Tracy Lords from back in my youth. Tracy Lords helped me through a couple of very lonely times in my life. Um, Pauline is our main character. She's played by Anna Lynn McCord, and really, really interesting look for her character in real life. And then there's this fantasy version of her, and really, really drastically different. Like they did such a good job with makeup. She is just a homely girl in high school, and but when she's having like these dream sequences and these, I don't know if I need a spoiler warning for the amount of times I'm going to say masturbation during this review, but she has a few scenes of that. And then also, just the cast in general. I was really taken back by all of the people that were in this movie. Ariel Winter, who I watched all a lot of seasons and reruns of Modern Family. I didn't know she was ever in a movie other than that show. We got Roger Bart playing the dad, Bob. He's from Hostel. I loved him in that. Let me see. There's a whole bunch of good-looking guys. John Waters plays Williams. Malcolm McDowell, Mr. Cooper, and Ray Wise plays the principal of the high school. And even Marley Matlin plays a character as well. And just like those are comedy moments that work so good. I wish all horror comedies could have such a perfectly meshed blend of comedy in the right places being done by the right actors. Like John Waters plays a priest. It's hilarious. And I know he's done it in other movies, but it cracks me up all the time. And Malcolm McDowell plays one of the teachers. And it's classic Malcolm McDowell. Like he's just so gruff and he plays like these angry older guys so well. And it's just the scene. There's back and forth scenes with him and Pauline that are just so funny. And Ray Wise, I could watch any movie with Ray Wise in it. I love him in Twin Peaks. He did a movie with Lynn Shay as his wife, and then they had their two kids, and they were in a car, and they were trapped in this loop. I can't remember the name of that movie, but it was so good, and Ray Wise is just brilliant. I don't know. Let me look at my notes. Oh, there's a lot of blood, a lot of gross things. I did appreciate. I'm not religious at all. I'm quite the opposite, actually, and I did appreciate the uh, underlying tone of religion and God. And even Pauline uh, prays a few times, and she mentions like, "If you're real, blah blah blah," and that's why it's also funny that John Waters plays a priest in this. There is blatant necromancy fantasy in this, girl on girl fantasy, girl on boy fantasy. There is so many things going on in such a great way. Tracy Lords, who I was absolutely fixated on in the early 80s, she plays such the overbearing, annoying mom in this, but she's so good at it. It's really well done. And then the Roger Bart playing the dad is like the opposite spectrum, and they do so good together. It's really good. And this is one of those movies where Pauline is already, we're starting the movie off with Pauline having some issues, some real issues. And it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper through the movie. And I love movies like that where we take a character at one point and then they're just descent into madness. It's like one of my favorite terms to use when I'm doing reviews. In many ways, this reminded me of the movie May, where that character was already kind of like a little off at the beginning of the film, but then events happen throughout the film that create like the ultimate May character. And that's what happens with Pauline. She's touched. She's got some real eccentric things. She does an autopsy on a dead bird that she finds. She's kind of competing a little bit for positive attention from her sister, played by Ariel Winter Grace, who has, I wrote it down, cystic fibrosis. And there's just these great interactions with other high school kids. And Pauline is just like so not affected by the name calling and everything else. She's actually quite quick at coming back with some really good stuff. And she's very forward with one of the young gentlemen at school about losing her virginity. And that's a whole interesting scene in itself. And yeah, and then, oh, I, I wrote down that one of the Ray Wise scenes that made me laugh so hard was that he had Pauline in the principal's office and they have an exchange. She's very dry and he's trying to be like the cool principal. But then she leaves and he turns, and I had already noticed these two pictures, but he turns and actually talks to them. But it's President Reagan and Vice President Bush right on his wall. I don't know why that made me laugh so hard, but it just took me back to the 80s when, like the late 80s, early 90s, when I was like a senior in high school and Bush Reagan was a thing. And it just really made me laugh. Um, but boy, by the time we get to the climactic ending, and Pauline's in full descent mode, um, kind of thinking, she's doing the right thing. She goes to some pretty extreme measures and does like an amazing thing in the garage. Um, and then mom walks in on it, and that is how it ends. But like surprising kind of turn. I wouldn't say a redemption arc necessarily. Arc, did I say narc? For Tracy Lord's character Phyllis, by the way. But she does end up just holding Pauline, kind of screaming in horror, but also still kind of like embracing her daughter who just did this horrific thing. Maybe it's a moment of revelation that maybe she wasn't really paying enough attention to Pauline and the red flags, the massive red flags that she was eventually going to kind of snap. Um, I really love this movie. It's a definite easy movie to rewatch. I'm sure there's things I missed. I definitely would rewatch this again. Again, just very, very impressed with the cast. And Anna Lynn McCord, um, she was also on the show Nip Tuck and in 90210. So I have seen her in things, and she's unrecognizable as this Pauline high school girl. Like the way they downplay her appearance is so brilliant. But then in these dream sequences that are very sexual, like maybe this is a message that sexual tension and masturbation is the root of all evil, because That would explain a lot in my life. Um, and on that note, we'll end it there. This has a 6.1 star rating on IMDb. I know I didn't mention that. It's got over 25,000 reviews. So it's a well-loved movie, well-deserving. And I found this on Tubi. I think I forgot to mention that too. Of all places, I was searching, thinking I was going to have to like find it on Shudder or on Amazon or whatever. Nope, it's right there on Tubi. You can watch this for free. If you haven't watched it, highly recommend it. There's a lot of gross stuff. The dark comedy is really so perfectly done in this movie. Can't say enough about it, but I probably did. So that's going to do it for I finally watched Excision. Let me know in the comments down below if you have seen this movie and what your thoughts were.
Row 18, plot 20.